Well, you were Terry's crew chief when you moved back in '93. Was that always a goal for you? Was that something you strived to be, or
No, I didn't. I didn't really care about being a crew chief.
okay?
I never did. You know, and and Billy said that he wanted to make me crew chief, and he kind of took it away. I went back there in '92 when I got there, and we started running good. We really started running good because all the cars were kind of messed up aerodynamically that I found, and we did a lot of work. We worked hard. And then Billy wanted to make me crew chief, and he kind of took that away from Dewey. And I felt bad about that. Dewey didn't like it. Dewey got mad at me. It wasn't my fault. But yeah, Terry wanted me to do it. So
you didn't go over there to be the crew chief?
No, I went back to be a chassis specialist.
Okay.
And set the cars up and things like that. Because I didn't want my problem during the race is I watched all the other teams. You know, their strategy, things they did during the pit stops, thing. I couldn't do that being a crew chief. I didn't like that. But anyway, I went ahead and tried to be. And we ran good that year with what we had. I used to have to go over to Bill Davis's across the street and borrow drive plates and anything I could from him that he wasn't going to run. And we would race them. And we had Kellogg's. And we went to Wilkesboro. Terry had done talk to, no, he called me in the office one day, shut the door, Terry did. And we had been running, like I said, we had made people recognize us. Terry says, Jimmy Johnson called me last night. I said, what, from Dallas Cowboys? You know, at that time. He said, no. He says, from Hendricks. I said, oh. I said, what do he want? They want to talk to me. I said, what in the world are you doing standing here? Go talk to him. Go now. He said, I don't know. He says, all the guys here, are really like family to me. He says, I think the world of everybody. I done had you come back over here. Everything's getting better. I said, okay. Why put up part of your career trying to get things better when I don't think they will? And you can go there and things are better right off the start. He said, well, they said you could come too. He said, they didn't know if you could be crew chief, but you could be on the team. I said, I'll think about that. So sure enough, he went to meet with Jimmy, and, then he announced he was going to leave. We go to Wilkesboro. We want to win a race for Billy Hagan. We cannot stand not win a race for him. We go to Wilkesboro to test for a week, had an off week. We take 3 cars. We let Terry one day drive this car. It was a straight up Laughlin car. Then we had a banjo car. Then we had a Laughlin car with Hawkins front suspension. He drove each one for a day. We went through 20 sets of tires. Man, they weren't all the right tires, but they, each time we ran, we tried to match them up with different cars. And we let him pick the car that he liked best. And he picked the Laughlin 3/4 drop snout car. Well, the next day, the 4th day, we ran that car all day long. Made 100 lap runs with that car. And we're going to go win that race. And we got pretty good. We go back up there, and in the meantime, Billy Hagan's come up with this idea. He's going to run John Andretti at Wilkesboro too, and let Tex Powell take care of the car. And I was the furniture car. And I sent a car down there. We go back up there, and Terry was leading the race. We'd come up with a deal where we could kill a cylinder. It was like traction control back in. But we could kill the cylinder coming off the corner, and when he got off the button, it would pick up all 8 cylinders. Well,
now that wasn't legal.
No, it wasn't legal. Y'all said when I come in here to talk to y'all, I could tell some stories. Well, I'm telling stories. So
I'm shocked.
so we are actually leading the race, and there's 50-some laps to go. John Andretti's been on our way all day. We outrun Darrell and everybody with the little trick we had. And lo and behold, caution come out. Well, when the caution come out, the little trick we had quit. So we had all 8 cylinders. I think that's the way it was. No, we just had 7 cylinders. It had killed that one cylinder completely. So we had to come in and got 4 tires. Went back out third. And when they threw the green, everybody else had new tires. We had new tires, but we couldn't run because we didn't have 8 cylinders. We finished 6th that day. And we had spent a fortune and had worked our butts off to try to win that race, and that happened. And me and Terry, I know we'll forget. Oh, we talked about team cars, and we let it have it about that. But that was, what we tried to do toward the end of the year was try to win a race for them.
By any means necessary.
Huh?
By any means
By
necessary.
any means necessary, we was going to win a race with Billy. And I don't think they would have caught what we had at that time. It was different.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have caught it.
The following season, you did wind up with Hut Stricklin and Travis Carter over there.
Biggest nightmare of my life.
How so?
I was going to go to Ricky Rudd's. That's when he was starting his team. I didn't went up there and we didn't talk. Me and him and Linda.
Now, was things with Billy just over, or?
It was getting over.
Okay.
And I went up there and talked to him. And I thought, well, okay, I might do this. Well, then we at Charlotte in the fall race, and Mike Hill comes to me, he says, Junior and T. Wayne want to see you over the truck. That's okay. So I go over there, and they're standing there. T. Wayne Robinson loved him to death. Anybody made this sport, T. Wayne Robinson and Dale Earnhardt made this sport, as far as I'm concerned. And T. Wayne and the juniors started telling about their plans to start a R.J. Reynolds team, and with the Camel cigarette brand. They didn't say nothing about Smoking Joe and nothing like that at that time. And they wanted me to come and do it, be crew chief on it. And at that time, they weren't sure they were going to hire Hut. It might be Jimmy Spencer, it might be somebody else. And so, like a dummy, I turned down the deal at Ricky's because I thought the world of them 2 guys, and I knew that that'd be the thing to do. So I did it. And Travis didn't want me. He wanted Donnie.
Donnie Richardson?
No, Donnie from Budmore. Wingo. Donnie Wingo.
Yeah.
Him and Wingo were tight. Well, we got cars. When I walked in there, we had nothing. We didn't have no people. We didn't have nothing. Brewer had sent a couple guys down, Dean Combs and Gary. Just a couple, and we had to hire some. We hired J.T. Townsend, Johnny Townsend, and a couple others. And Travis come up to me and says, we need to hire my nephew. I said, what team's he on now, Travis? He's not. He's got some lawnmowers and stuff, but he ain't never worked in racing. We need to hire him. He'd make you a good man. I said, well, we don't have nobody now that know how to work on race cars. And we had Barry Swift. He let me hire Billy Swift. What's his name? Barry Swift.
Barry.
And so we hired Larry Carter. And I taught him everything I knew to teach him. And we never got to build a new car until the end of the year. Toward the end of the year, he finally let me order a new car and build it. And we took it to Loudon, passed this thing there, and qualifying Hut spins out. Second day qualifying, Hut spins out. He's trying too hard. So naturally, you didn't have the right setup in that car. Okay. Everything I ever heard was Donnie wouldn't do it that way. And Todd Parrott, he was a fan of Todd Parrott's do. Todd said you had to do this. Todd said you had. I said, why don't you just hire Todd? Well, I can't get it. You know, basically told me I can't get it. So we went on. We raced pretty much all year. We go to Michigan. And I knew Travis and I just wasn't getting along. We get there at Michigan. We go out and we qualify. Well, by the time qualifying's over, there's 4 cars left. Just so happens 2 of them was Felix Sabatis' cars. We done made the race, but we were pretty much on the bubble. We was 2 away from getting bumped. And like I said, we was running old cars. We had motors that they were pitiful. We actually ran one of Jack Roush motors in the Winston to see if, we could run better. And of course, being a crew chief I am, it's always the motor. You know what I mean? It's just, you have to blame it on something. And they stopped qualifying, drive the track, and ran the Busch cars. Pulled them 4 cars down behind the wall down turn 1 and covered them up and said after the Busch race, they would qualify. Instead of just canceling qualifying and letting us do our deal, we sat in the truck the whole race thinking we need to start changing motors or what we need to do. Or we're going to get another practice or anything. Well, I'm a nervous wreck at that time. And Travis, he's wanting to know why we didn't run better and all this. T-Wayne's calling. He won't know what's going on. And sure enough, they run the race. Track drives. They qualify them 4 cars. We was the last car to get bumped. It was 30 degrees cooler. They sent us home. And a certain guy was in charge of NASCAR at the time. And he had worked with Felix. Mr. Nelson. And I think that's the reason it happened like that. I never was told that. But it pretty much, we get back to the shop next day. We had to go get a commercial flight and all back home. Anyway, funny part is the truck driver told me, he said, go to the motel, get my clothes out of the room, and bring them home with you. I said, okay. So I ain't got to go back to the motel over in Jackson. I get him, he says, in the bottom of the bag's a gun. And I said, okay. Well, I didn't think no more about that gun. We get to the airport. Larry Carter says, Pete, says, what'd you do with Wayne Jenks' gun? I said, bull crap. I said, it's still here in the bag. He said, you got to do something with it. So I pulled it out. Travis seen it. Oh, Travis went nuts. He said, throw it in the trash can. Throw it in the trash can. I said, I can't do that. So I threw it in the trash can anyway, and I went up to the gate, and I got my ticket, and then I explained to the gate guy what had happened. What could I do to get that gun out of the trash can and get it on the plane? Well, he calls his manager, and he calls his manager, and it's all going on. He says, well, if you buy a gun case, you can ship it. I said, okay. I said, the gun's over there. You get it and put it in a gun case. He said, well, you got to buy a gun case. Okay. I said, how much are they? He said, well, we don't have no pistol cases. All we got's for big guns. I go, oh. Okay, I'll take one of them. He brings out a case about 6 foot long and 4 foot wide to put a little 38 pistol in. I think the case was like almost $400.
They had those at the airport?
Yeah.
What's somebody gonna carry to the airport that you're gonna have to ship in
A rifle or something, like, you know, going
a
over.
bazooka or something?
Yeah, but it was a huge case. I got his gun home, $400 some later. But anyway, the next day at the shop, Travis says, "Me and you need to talk." I said, "Yes, we do." We had 10 races left. He comes in there and he says, "I'm going to take over setting the cars up and everything." I said, "Why?" He said, I don't think you give them good enough cars." I said, "Okay." I said, "When I set them up now, you change everything after I leave to go home anyway, or we load the car." And he had done that several times. And I said, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "Will T. Wayne let me have my car long enough to get home?" I said, "Because I ain't going to go with your plan. I quit." He said, "Well, I figured you would." I said, "Yeah, I'm done. I don't need this. I got a contract at the end of the year." So I called T. Wayne, told him that I was done. I was out of there. I'd bring his car back and just let me go home. Well, T. Wayne just starts talking. Now, think about it. We have been working to build this team. And I said, "No, we're not. We ain't never going to build a team if the crew chief and the owner or whatever I'm working for, general manager, can't get along. It ain't going to happen." So I go home. I told my wife, I said, "I'm done." I went there and got a lawnmower and started mowing the yard. Well, about 3 o'clock, a big Suburban pulled up in the front yard. Darrell gets out, wanting me to come to work for him. It was Darrell and Clyde Booth. Well, I told him I didn't want to do it. He said, "Well," says, "we got 10 races, and I got pressure from Western Auto to finish in the top 10 points. And I'm not 18th or 19th at the time." Well, I said, "I can't do it." He leaves. He comes back. We got Stevie this time.
Bring that big guns.
So I agreed I'd go to work for him. Clyde talked to me and told me what I would make and all that. And we went to Bristol and almost won the race. Almost won the race that night. Almost won Dover. Earnhardt had a flat no. Earnhardt had trouble. Rusty took the lead when Earnhardt had trouble. He had a tire and it was ended under caution. And Rusty didn't pit, so he won the race. We finished second. And I spent the rest of the year and I stayed there until he started hiring Jeff Hammond back. Then he hired Waddell Wilson back. He was trying to find the combination so he could keep Western Auto. Because at that time, Western Auto was a good sponsor. They had a lot invested in Darrell, and I didn't have a problem with that. But I could just feel the pressure on me building. And I know we'll forget, I answered the phone. And Pete Peterson was there. And it was Jay Fry. Pete says, "You don't mind if I talk to Pete Peterson, do you?" He says, we're starting this team, MB2, and we need a good man. I said, "What about me?" He said, "What?" He said, "You interested?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, come talk to me." Well, that evening I went and talked to him. The rest of it was history. I went to work for Jay. Because we started that MB2 team with Skittles, which at the time was a Rick Hendricks team, farm team. Because he had Skittles as a sponsor. He had some friends from Georgia, and he started the team with them. Nelson Byers and Morton Reed, and I can't remember the other guy. Anyway, we were getting their cars, running their motors. It was a good deal. Had Pontiac. Pontiac wanted Hendricks to run a Pontiac. Because remember, Jack Sprague had drove some Pontiac at Atlanta and some other place, Phoenix. So we started that team then. And that's how I left there and went to work for Jay. And I worked for Jay 13 years.
Did you really?
That long.
Mm-hmm. We had the Army car. We had the Skittles car with Ernie Irvin. Then we had Skittles car with, the M&M car with Strader.
Sure, yeah.
Then we had the Army team with Jerry Nadeau to start with,
Yeah.
and then Joe Nemechek, and then Mark Martin. Or was it Mark Martin, then Nemechek?
I think it was Nemechek and then Martin.
Okay. So I worked for Jay a long time.